Hi, I'm Victor Vogel. I'm a leadership consultant. I'm coming out of retirement after 15 years, but I have 45 years in developing leaders, and I've created a new paradigm because we need to change how we look at the leaders and their role in businesses and in any organization for that matter. And we need to understand how to more effectively use those leaders. But I want to talk to you about a different leadership role, the role of our government. And I want to make clear, we need to change the paradigm for leadership in our government. We need to change the role. We don't need to change it to something new. We need to change it back to what it should be and has always been for over 240 some odd years. The primary role is simple. When you're elected into a government, whether it's city, county, state, or federal government in the United States, it's clear within our Constitution what your role is, and that is the role of leader. And your role as a leader is simple. It's just a few things: to create a more perfect union. That's it. It's not to be a lawyer, not to be a doctor, not to be a businessman, not to be a politician, not to be a Democrat, Republican, liberal, or whatever else you want to classify. You're not to be conservative or liberal or democratic or fascist. It's to create a more perfect union. Union means unity. It does not mean division. It means unity. So this is it. If you're going to be in the government, stop today, take a look at yourself in the mirror, and ask yourself, am I dedicated to creating a more perfect union for the 400 million people who live in the United States of America? Is everything I do focused on that? If it's not, you need to rethink and reestablish and reset your role and your activities. Now, to the people, we the people, us who vote, okay? We have fucked up. We have let this country down. We have elected people into offices who are now dividing us. We are accountable. We are the employer of everyone who goes into office. We are the employer of all of those people who work for us in the government. And it's time we start assessing our responsibilities along that line. We have one role, and that is we have a vote. And when we vote, we should be absolutely certain the person that we're going to place into that role that we put them into has one single purpose in mind: to create a more perfect union. Not to cram down other people's throats how we think they ought to live, but to ensure we have a more perfect, unified country. Perfect unity. Towards a more perfect unity. Are we there? Can we get there? No. The goal is to keep moving towards a perfect unity. A perfect, unified country. Okay? So please understand, when you elect somebody, They're not there to promote whether you want them to be a white Christian nationalist or whether you want them to be a Black Lives Matter person or whether you want them to be a Republican or a Democrat or a liberal or conservative or socialist. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to create a more perfect unity out of 400 million diversified Americans in the United States. That's your only role when you're voting. Get rid of the old cultural things that people have been beating you over the head with, like Democrat or Republican. I'd never vote for a Democrat. I'd never vote for a Republican. I don't care. I'll vote for a criminal who I'll put in position because they're a Republican, because I would just never vote for a Democrat. Well, that's an ignorant attitude. It's an uneducated attitude. And most importantly, it isn't focused on the primary role of our Constitution and who we're about. And that's to create a more perfect union that we can live in, that is attractive for anyone else in the world to live in. That's it. We have two roles. We as voters, we need to elect people who have but one role in mind when they go to Congress or any elected position, local, state, or federal, or county, and that is to create a more perfect union. What do we have to do to create a more perfect union? Union means 400 million people coming together, more unified every single day. That's it. It's a clear role. It's clearly defined. Now, the question is, are you putting people into office who have the capacity to do that? Don't elect politicians. Don't elect doctors. Don't elect lawyers. Don't elect a profession. Elect a leader who can go create a more perfect union so you can live in peace and have the sense of security and safety and a sense of growth. Those things based on what you would like to go achieve. Will some people always be better off than others financially? Yes. But when we take care of those who aren't or can't for whatever reason, as part of that, we are forming a more perfect union. That's the role, ladies and gentlemen. It's a role of you as a citizen and a voter, and your responsibility. And you start to need taking that seriously. And you start demanding things like, does that mean we can't change the government? Yes, we can change the government. We can change how they operate. But we can't change the role. The role is the more perfect union. How we get there, we can debate and argue and move in the directions we need to move. But one thing for citizens, we need to start demanding more accountability out of all of our representatives. And that is when our tax money, we can send people to the moon. We're sending rocket ships up all the time, doing spectacular things. We have AI that's heaped upon us that now can do things faster and quicker and organized and better. Why can't we create a model that allows every citizen to see how every dollar of taxes collected out of their area, what that is spent on? And then you can hold your representative accountable against that. Where every dollar that is spent by the United States government or any income that comes to any of those people outside of their salary is audited and managed so we can see when people are taking advantage as opposed to forming a more perfect union. Those are things we should be demanding out of our government. That's accountability, transparency, accountability. That can happen if we form a more perfect union and demand as citizens with voices who have power to provide us the information we need to make accurate and appropriate decisions about who we put into office and how our government is doing business. In other words, as employers, we need to manage our people. Okay, that's just my thoughts. Remember, you're not electing someone to represent your particular specific needs. You're representing somebody to take all the information you can give them and what we think is appropriate to creating a more perfect union in the United States of America. Okay? So when people are saying they're representing constituents, if they're not creating a more perfect union, they're not representing their constituents. It's a new thought. It's actually not a new paradigm. It's one that was created 240 some odd years ago that we really just need to get back to doing correctly. And then use technology to help us get that done today. Have a great day. And by the way, pick up that mantle. Pick up that role. You forget about all of these things that have been dividing us. Just think about what's it going to take to create a more perfect union of all of these people together. Because when we have that, we have massive strength as a country. We protect our citizens. We help our citizens. We are representative of what freedom can look like to the rest of the world. Those are just my thoughts on what we can do to change the leadership in our country.